Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone with our good buddy Blake Sebring of the News Sentinel, talking Komets hockey. And Blake, I think if you went into this weekend, went into any series where you played 3 at an opponent, and you say, we take 2 of 3, all 3 road games, you're going to take it. But Sunday kind of put a damper on things.
It really did.
So it's kind of a mishmash of how Komets fans, I think, feel about this weekend. Of course, you're going to take 2 or 3 wins, but you wish it ended on a high note. Your take overall in this 3-game series against Elmira?
Well, and I'll even go back to last Friday. I mean, you needed to win all 4 to be able to make a move in the standings, and you didn't. I mean, you're basically 2-2 against the Jackals with one more game coming up on Friday night, and they're behind you in the standings. You need to keep them there. You need to take advantage of this schedule and make some hay, and they didn't.
And when you take a look at the Eastern Conference standings, it's really 10 teams that have a shot at the 8 slots in the playoffs. Once you get to 11, Gwinnett, I mean, there's pretty much no chance that they're going to catch the Komets. Komets right now in 10th only. They've got 42 points. Greenville, 9th, 43. And Wheeling, which is a big game this coming Wednesday at Wheeling, Komets of Wheeling, 44 points. So definitely within striking distance. But Elmira, 5 games in 6 days, that's the time you wanted to make some hay. They made some, but maybe not enough.
They needed to go at least 4-1. I mean, they really did. I mean, and that's been their biggest problem all year, is playing to the level of the opponents. I mean, they've done that. You know, when they play a good team, they play well. They're aggressive. It's like they have no pressure. They just go get it. And then when they play a bad team, they play down to that level, and it's always a 1-goal game. I mean, you know, there's so many times where they could put teams away with 1 power play goal, and they never get it.
We were talking off camera before, and you mentioned some staggering power play statistics.
2 for 36 lately in the last 9 games.
That's not good.
Which is amazing. The only reason they're in these games is their penalty kill is just as good. They've only given up 2 goals in the 9 games.
Right, like somewhere around 88% for the season, correct? 3rd best in the ECHL. Power play, if it's that big of an issue, what do you do to solve it if you're Gary Graham and the rest of the guys on this team?
I don't know, but it's a confidence issue. It's got to be. Because you think about it, the power play, you're usually starting with Fleming, Marino, and Auger, and Fleming's like 80% on the faceoffs there. So you're getting the faceoff to control the puck in the other team's zone, and you're not even getting shots. I mean, and then if they dump it out, you don't get back in either. You gotta change something. I mean, throw 5 guys out there. Just mix it up. Do something. Do anything to break it up. I mean, you can't do any worse. But it's just pathetic sometimes.
Well, some of the positives coming out of the weekend, I kind of want to go through some of the games, because on Friday they went 4-3. Mm-hmm. As we mentioned last week, there were some guys who hadn't scored a whole lot this season. They're starting to find themselves scoring on a more frequent basis. Schrocky gets a goal.
Yeah, pretty goal.
Carter gets a goal.
Yep.
Those are good things to see on Friday.
Southorn
gets a goal. Fleming got a goal. That's not necessarily revelationary. But the other guys are starting to get some more goal. I mean, we've seen it with Schrock in the last couple of weeks.
They're a lot more aggressive, I think. I think that's part of it. They're not just dumping and chasing. You know, they've done a lot better job until yesterday of being around the net for the rebounds. They've really done a nice job of that. I mean, a lot of their goals have come within 5 feet, and a lot of them on rebounds.
And then on Saturday, you get the shutout. First Komets shutout this season. Now, you had to reread that statistic like 3 times because it seemed a little late for that. I guess with Bush and some of the other guys were used to it coming
Kenny Ryder had, last year too, yeah.
Right. Meisner played very well. What do you take away from his performance when he's not, firing the puck off in the stands? It's pretty good.
Oh, I think he's their best chance for consistency. Makarov played Sunday, and he hadn't played since January 18th, but the first 2 goals were rebounds at his feet and in. He doesn't control rebounds, and that hurts him. And he gives up a soft goal a game, at least. That hurts him. I mean, you're in the second half now. No more excuses. Period. Let's go. You've got to start playing more consistently. You've got to put forth the same effort every night, and I don't care who you're playing.
Yeah, you mentioned Mack, and that was the next thing I wanted to get to. He saved 16 to 20 shots. It's not 80%. That's not a great percentage on Sunday. How much of that, though, was rust and him still getting back into the things? Because concussions they're very tricky to predict how they're going to affect each individual.
But the goals were the same kind of goals he's been giving up. I mean, he gives up a lot of rebounds, and he doesn't control them. So teams know it. They crash the net. There's going to be a rebound there, more than likely, that they'll have a chance at.
Any bitterness when you see Vascovo score a couple of goals because he's actually been a Komets killer.
Yeah.
I mean, he scored when they played here. He's been really good against the Komets, as has Pakalog.
I think he's getting to play with the first line. He's getting first line power play minutes. That's part of it too. That wasn't going to happen here with Marino and Auger and Fleming. They were more consistent, but maybe it would have happened now. But I think that's part of it too. I mean, he's all they got, pretty much.
Well,
him and Bellamy, and that's it.
Yeah, you've mentioned Fleming a lot so far. I want to kind of dive into what he's been able to do. It's 23 assists, second most in the ECHL among rookies. 11 goals on the season, 34 total points. Has he been better than you imagined at the beginning of the season, and how key is he down the stretch? Because you don't want a guy who's kind of doing this for the first time to hit that wall, although he is playing with some pretty good players.
Well, and I asked him about that last week. There's going to be a story for Friday. I mean, it's just amazing when you consider he hadn't played for a year and a half, or for a year and 3/4 before this. I mean, and to think you could come back and be as steady and as smooth and as consistent as he's been is just remarkable. I mean, he never played more than 33 games a year in college, and we're almost at 40. I mean, it's just 38 right now. It's just incredible how consistent he's been considering all this. You would think that just about now might be when he'd start to hit his stride. But he's been really good right from the start. He's been their number one center without a doubt the whole year. I think the hardest thing about Scott is that nobody knew what to expect. He knew what to expect. I think Chris Auger, his friend, knew what to expect, but I don't think anybody else had any clue. I mean, he's got to be the biggest diamond in the rough in the whole league.
Auger also, 18th goal, he scored it on Sunday, the lone goal for the Komets. What have you seen from him this year that has, obviously, last year was a wash with the knee injury, but what have you seen that has, where he has taken his biggest strides from what we saw 2 years ago when he came in to the Komets and was a real goal scorer from the get-go for this K's team?
Actually, when I talked to Chris last week about it, he was always saying about how he's usually a slow starter offensively. And he didn't have that problem this year. But, what I've always been impressed with Chris has been his team defense. I mean, blocking shots, controlling the neutral zone. One thing, it's like if teams are really focusing on Marino, obviously he's the leading scorer in the league. Well, Chris has always been great at being the option, the relief valve, if you will, over on the other side, because if you don't cover him, he's going to nail you. And I think he's really been taking advantage of that. I mean, to me, what I always appreciate the most about Chris is his consistency. You get the same effort every night from him.